There we see knight bd7. Finally, that enables us to sacrifice the knight on f7. So sure, I can go ahead and sacrifice my knight on f7. See, this trap can also happen in the modern defense, also in the French defense, if black is not careful. In fact, I first came across this trap in the modern defense. So if king takes f7 was played, I was simply going to play queen takes e6 check, and if king g6 by black, I would have gone queen f7 check, forcing the king to come out, and whatever, I was still going to play pawn to d3, or even better, pawn to h4, checking the king immediately, forcing it to go back to h6, pawn to d4, discovery check, and black was going to be left with pawn to g5 only, after which I was simply going to take with my h-pawn, checkmating black instantly. Time for serious chess, gambits and traps. e4. Let me see what my opponent is going to play. I'll try to make this game as fun as possible. There we see pawn to c5 on the board. The Sicilian defense against this bishop c4 is what I like playing. Simply my improved Baudelaire attack with the same queen e2 idea that I've been preaching about for the last 7 days. Hoping to see pawn to e6, then I'll go queen e2. Oh, there we see a different move, pawn to d6. What did I say about this? Okay, let's learn something new here. So after pawn to d6, I can still go queen e2, but I guess I just have to play knight to f3. The reason is simple. Queen e2 only makes sense if black plays pawn to e6 to prevent d5. So knight to f3 makes a lot of sense in preparation for knight c6. So knight to f3, getting ready for knight c6, preventing knight d4, because I'm just gonna take if black plays knight d4 in the near future. By the way, I have knight c3 coming next, and queen e2. Yeah, I'll plant my knight on e4 someday after pushing pawn to e5. So this is how we make strategies in the opening. You need to learn how to make plans right when the game starts, right in the opening stage, to avoid making blunders in the middle game, and also to move with a consistent plan. Okay, so there we see pawn to e6 by black. I guess black's plan is to go pawn to d5 after playing something like knight e7. Yep, so I need to play knight c3, and I should be careful here. If I play the normal looking move pawn to d4, this may transpose back into the Scheveningen variation, which I don't want, because the goal is to take Sicilian players out of their prep with my improved Baudelaire attack. So let me just go queen e2 before playing knight c3 anyways. Queen e2 to prevent pawn to d5, because if d5 I'm just gonna take. Black normally plays knight f6 here, but I'm ready to go e5. Yep, so e5, knight f6. Should I go e5, or maybe I should just play d3 or knight c3? You know what? I'm now thinking of another trap in the Sicilian defense that begins with a move pawn to e5 in this position. So e5, I'm expecting black to take. I could have also castled short if I wanted, by the way. Okay, so there we see d takes e5, so I have to take with my knight. If knight bd7, I'm gonna sacrifice my knight on f7. That's the trap that you also need to know in our improved Baudelaire attack. Anyway, I don't expect my advanced opponent to play knight bd7, allowing me to sacrifice my knight anyways. Maybe he should play something like bishop e7 and castle short, but I still have ways to fight, to continue fighting. So here is something you need to know about chess, guys. There's a part where you need to memorize moves, especially in the opening stage, and there's a big part where you need to improvise, to freestyle, to respond to current situations. I mean, the moves that you see on the board at that particular time. The tricky part is that most chess players tend to find it difficult to continue playing on their own once their preparation ends. They find it difficult to move from the state of memorization to independence, playing on their own. Okay, there we see bishop e7. I guess knight c3 makes a lot of sense here, developing another minor piece which was doing nothing, and so I'm over controlling the d5 square. I expect black to castle short though, after which I'm gonna play something like pawn to d3. I also have g4 in the near future, g5, h4, h5, kind of the curious attack ideas against the Sicilian. There we see knight bd7 finally, which I talked about a few seconds ago that enables us to sacrifice the knight on f7. So you can see move order may differ at times, but history may still repeat itself, which is why all you need to memorize at best are positions and pawn structures. So sure, I can go ahead and sacrifice my knight on f7, and if king takes f7, I'm gonna take on e6 with my queen. Queen takes e6 check and probably mate black very quickly. See, this trap can also happen in the modern defense, also in the French defense if black is not careful. In fact, I first came across this trap in the modern defense, not in the Sicilian defense, which tells you to say structures are very important. Memorizing pawn structures and positions pays off as compared to memorizing moves. All you need to know is how the pieces are sitting. You need to relate. Anyway, so how do you memorize pawn structures and board structures, so to speak? Well, only by playing a lot of OTB games and watching my videos, because I play openings that will most likely lead to a relatable position I'm familiar with. Oh, so there we see my opponent resigns. Let me just show you what would have happened in case black took on f7. So if king takes f7 was played, I was simply going to play queen takes e6 check, and if king f8 or king e8, I was simply going to checkmate black on f7 with my queen. For example, king e8 followed by queen f7 checkmate. Nevertheless, the line goes as follows: king g6 by black, then I would have gone queen f7 check, forcing the king to come out. And let's see, if black played something like king h6 or king g5 or king f5, whatever, I was still going to play pawn to d3, or even better, pawn to h4, checking the king immediately, forcing it to go back to h6 or f5. Let's say h6, but still I would have played pawn to d4, discovery check by my dark squared bishop, and black was going to be left with pawn to g5 only, after which I was simply going to take with my h-pawn, checkmating black instantly. But let's go back a few moves to see what else black would have done after playing pawn to h4 check. Question: what if black played king f5? Well, that was going to run into my queen e6 check immediately, forcing black to play king f4, which was going to run into d3. Or if king g6, I was still going to play bishop d3 check to force the black king to go to h6 or h5. It doesn't even matter. For example, king h6, after which I was going to play queen e3 check, and whatever black was going to do, it was going to be checkmate in one on g5. Let me show you what else you can do if your Sicilian trap doesn't go as planned. Let's say after e4, c5, bishop c4, d6, knight f3, pawn to e6, queen e2, and knight f6 by black. If I wanted, I could have also played knight c3 right away instead of pawn to e5 immediately, but the reason why I played pawn to e5 was to show you that trap where we sacrifice our knight on f7 after d takes e5 and knight bd7. But one may ask, what if after d takes and knight takes e5, black doesn't fall for our trap and plays normally with bishop e7, and after knight c3 they just castle short instead of going knight bd7? Well, I was still going to go pawn to d3, paving way for my dark squared bishop, and since black has already castled short, I was going to start expanding my kingside pawns to go for an early attack and destroy black's kingside as quickly as I can. And if s6, just like I always say, s6 goes together with pawn to f4, so I would have just played pawn to f4 to stop b5. And then if, let's say, black played the top played move knight bd7, I was just simply going to go pawn to f4, supporting my knight, so that if queen c7, you know, I could just go bishop d7, and in case of bishop d6, I was just going to take bishop takes and castle short, with plans of putting my knight on e4 next, and maybe expand on the king side if need be, because I don't see any weakness from that side of the board. So that's how the game would have continued normally, and I guess I was going to be ahead in development. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if at all you are new, and also check out my courses at www.kasperchess.com if you want to take your chess seriously and up to the next level. Hope you enjoyed this video as well. Until next time, bye bye.